Father James, welcome back.
Good to be here again, John.
And this week's topic is work.
Correct. Work and the Catholic Church. One of my little issues about work and about the Catholic Church, especially what it's doing with work in Australia, is that I would argue, in fact, that it has forgotten some of the wider things that work gives to people. So what we concentrate on now is we concentrate on helping people who are unemployed be sustainable. So the Catholic Church and its organisations is very good at calling for increase in government allowances to unemployed people, but that's only one dimension of work. A much more important dimension is what it does to the individual itself. So that's a question about the dignity of work and what it means to be in employment and what you get out of employment beyond money. They're important questions.
Mm-hmm. So let's go back to basics. So why work?
Yeah, well, I think there are 5 or 6 what I would call the Catholic goods, the goods of society that you get from work. And the most obvious thing is that you get a group of colleagues and you get a social life and you get to be with other people. And the workplace in modern Australia is very much that. You meet all your friends through work. You may even get to the point where you meet your partner, or you can have relationships with people on a much deeper level who you've all met at work. So those people who don't work are really dramatically socially narrowed compared with those who do work. So unless you work, it's very hard to have a family. It's very hard to have some kids. It's very hard to buy a house. It's very hard to join the local footy and cricket club and contribute to the kids' schools. And it's very hard to go to Mass. So my point is that all the Catholic goods that we in the Church say are really valuable, like community and family and marriage and children, are prefaced on people having jobs. So if you get married and both partners don't work, that's a very stressed marriage to begin with already. It's very hard, and it's almost impossible, I would argue, to have kids in those circumstances.
It sounds like what you're saying is underpinned by money.
That's a dimension of it, but it's not the only dimension. A much more important dimension is what it gives to you when you work. So when you go to work and you begin your life in a work, you're normally mentored by someone, so you learn socially how to do that job, but also how to conduct yourself with people and in a group, and then you develop those skills and you get stronger at them, and to the point where you may be involved in leadership and you may be looking at developing other people. So it's got a much deeper community dimension to it and a much deeper human dimension. And out of that you get status as well, but I don't want to emphasize status too much. You get much more important things like a sense of self-worth, some dignity about who you are, and a feeling that you've made a difference. So yes, money's important, but it's not, in my view, it's not the whole story. In fact, in the end, it becomes quite an inconsequential story.
So what would you like the Catholic Church to do?
Well, I think the Catholic Church in a way has forgotten about this issue to some degree. So it is in the workplace level at the point of saying we need to improve the unemployment benefit, we need to strengthen that, we need to do things for people that are out of work. But we don't have enough transition points to say, okay, that's one part of it, but let's actually get people a job. Let's be a kind of job provider. Now, the Catholic Church has a lot of resources, it has a lot of parishes, it has a lot of other institutions that can provide work, especially work for very vulnerable people. And the vulnerable people in our community, there's all sorts of people who are vulnerable, but the big people who are vulnerable are young people who 18 to 22 who haven't had much work, don't know what work looks like, and need help transitioning into it, need to be taught how to do it, but not just the skills. It's more a transition about how to conduct yourself at work, how to present yourself for job interviews, how to be able to get a job, how to speak about yourself in ways that someone is going to say, this is a person I want to employ. So we being the Catholic Church, we don't do anything in these areas, not nearly enough. So we are kind of absent from this area. I find that surprising, because if you want to build community and you want to be valuable in the community, you have to be where people's main concerns are. At the moment, people's main concerns are, will I have a job? But more importantly, will my kids have a job? And will my kids have lifelong employment? And what are things like robotics going to do to a 30-year work career? And can my kids build the kind of life that I've had and have the same level of success? And I think people are quite worried in Australia at the moment that this might be a generation, the current generation coming through, that is worse off than their parents.
What is the church stance on robotics?
I don't think it has one. In fact, I've never heard of any statement at all, and I would encourage the church to be looking at thinking about these deeper questions, because it's easy to get rid of people in work. Then you got this question of, where do you give human dignity and human self-worth? Where is it coming from? And I don't think we as a society have really thought about that. That should be the key Catholic question.
Is there anything practical that church can do in this area?
I would think, especially for young people, and also for people who are over 55s, because that's the other big group that is stressed in work at the moment, is to try to put those two groups together. To me, there's no reason why local parishes can't be providing introductory work to local young people with some training. And there's no reason why organisations like the Catholic Church can't do that. They can get the insurances required, they've got the resources, they can, and it would be a wonderful thing as far as the church is concerned, because people would say that church down on the corner is providing work to local kids that they need and they wouldn't have a job otherwise. That's a wonderful thing if they would do that, but I haven't seen a great drive to push those kind of things.
They'd have to conform to current bureaucratic standards.
Yeah, but they conform, big organisations conform to those things anyway. Schools do that, hospitals do that. There are all sorts of standards. Churches have insurance-based issues already. So I'm not sure that this is a too hard basket.
What would be the next step, or the first step for the church?
I think on a diocese basis, most churches need to stop talking about a political solution. My argument would be, let's look at a whole lot of practical things. Let's involve a network, a small network to start with, of local parishes that want to do this stuff, and let's look at practical things that can be done. And there's no doubt in my mind the resource base is there. There just isn't the drive and the energy to do it. So a church that fails to do that and fails to step into the workplace deserves to be criticised quite harshly, because what are you on about if you're not on about helping people develop themselves, develop work and maintain work? What else, as far as the social goods go, what else is more important than that?
Yeah. Father James, thanks very much.
Pleasure, John.